All right, first want to call our meeting to order. And Happy New Year to everyone.
Happy New Year.
I know. Hope you all had a wonderful holiday. And so we're just there's folks who are joining us also online, some of the members who are joining us. I think Rep. China Tyler, I believe Joe is joining us as well. But we'll get the roll call once that happens. So wanted to lead off with reading the trustees affirmation, which will be on the screen for people to see shortly. I'm gonna do it first now. The affirmation.
Yes,
Okay.
it worked how many times and now?
Oh, and now it's not. Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Of course not.
That is okay. Don't worry.
Technology. I might move up there.
Technology's right.
There we go.
There it is. Okay. With every meeting, we open with our statement. The trustees of the Boston Public Library reaffirms our commitment to racial equity and to principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion more broadly. The library is formally committed to becoming an anti-racist organization in response to systemic racism, inequity, and injustice prevalent in our society. We acknowledge also that the Boston Public Library Central Library stands on the land that was once a water-based ecosystem providing sustenance for the indigenous Massachusetts people and is a place which has long served as a site of meeting and exchange among nations. We are committed to land acknowledgements for all locations at which we operate. We affirm this commitment to set the context for our planning, deliberations, and public engagement so that they will take place from the spirit of welcome and respect found in our motto, free to all. So thank all of you, really. This is quite exciting, right? When we read that every meeting. Wanted to pass it on to Pamela, who's gonna do roll call of the committee members. And then we will begin and go through the agenda. And I will also pass it to, Priscilla and David to say a few words as we go into it as well. You want to do roll call?
Yes, we do have a few members that have told us in advance that they were on schedule conflict.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just read your last names. Josina Ford,
Here.
Massa,
Here.
Evelyn Moreno Ortiz is not able, she's out of the country. Mr. Garland is stuck in California. Michelle Cohen,
Present.
Mr. Paris is busy with the Embrace.
Yes, we're excited about that. but
Yeah.
Okay.
Hunter,
Here.
Living
Here.
Miles,
I'm president.
Tom is also coast, unfortunately, due to the floods. Representative Tyler is joining us via the Zoom call. Water.
Here.
We have a-
And I'm here. I'm here.
All right, Reb.
Yay.
All right, thank you, Pamela. So wanted to approval of the minutes, if we could do that at this moment, and then I'll pass it to the both of you. So all those, is there any, first, any questions? You guys had a chance to read the minutes, and I just want to put a motion on the floor to approve it.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any conversation? No? Okay, great. We're done. Thank you. So I will pass it on to Priscilla and David to say,
No.
oh, yes, okay. Well, okay. So wanted them to just say a quick remarks. No, or we go
You.
really quick. Okay, you got 1 minute. I'll let you say a few.
I just like to appreciate everybody for continuing to be involved with us in this work. And, our engagement with our community is everything the library is about. And so to the extent that you, as an extension of the trustees, help shepherd, guide, provide direction, oversight for how we can be better at that, it is much appreciated, much welcome, and speaks to our core, and it's one more way, I think, of instantiating this free to all motto that we've referenced a couple of times. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, David. Priscilla?
And I just want to wish everybody a happy new year. 2023 is just off like a rocket.
It is.
So the fact that we're all here is really a testament to our commitment. And thank you all staff for being here. It's so good to see you and looking forward to hearing from you as well. Engagement, involvement, being relevant is all what this committee is about. And we have such a great opportunity, and thank you so much. And
Thank
thank
you.
you for your leadership, Jose, Linda, and everyone on this committee.
Thank you. Very good. Okay, team, I want to say we're going to tackle the issue of the charters and principle, right? The Community Engagement Committee Charter and Principles, and want to thank all of you, right, for the work that you've done over the last year. You all have been on the committee. Jose and I were the new ones, right? And so a lot of this is based on the conversations and dialogues that you all have had throughout last year and even before that, right? And so this is an opportunity for us. We tabled this issue last time, but really to have a conversation and to vote. So we're going to take a vote on our charter and principles today. So want to be able to go through it to see if there's any changes you'd like to make, any edits. I have a couple. So maybe it's, I don't know how we would like to do this, but I wanted to read every bullet and see if there's any changes. I think that's easier, right, Jose?
I agree.
Okay, very good. So we're going to begin, okay? And remember, we had talked about strategic community engagement, but we removed the word strategic. So we're the BPL Community Engagement Committee. So we're going to start with the first bullet. So, an endorsement of a move to more responsive local programming based on local community needs and interests. Program with, not for. So does anyone have changes? I have a couple edits for that one. Can I share? Okay, so wanted to share, instead of a move to, it kind of seems as if the work is not being done when it is. So it's really elevating it. So I would say an endorsement of a more responsive programming. So removing a move to, removing local, based on local community, the fullness of diverse needs and interest, program with, not for. So I say that because there's a couple. So if you look at the fourth bullet, that mentions ensure engagement with our communities is based on the fullness of their diversity and equity needs. I kind of merged it with the first one to simplify it. So again, it would read an endorsement of a more responsive programming. We may tweak it a little bit, more responsive programming based on local community, the fullness of diverse needs and interest. Parentheses would stay program with or not for, okay?
Okay, read it one more time for me
Okay, no worries.
with your edit.
I know, I'm sorry. So here we go. So an endorsement of a more responsive, but there's something off, I think, but okay. An endorsement of a more responsive programming, take out local, based on local community, because we're saying local community, the fullness of diverse needs and interest. An endorsement of a more responsive programming or more responsive programming. Take out that, thank you.
Okay.
So just an endorsement of more responsive programming based on local community, the fullness of diverse needs and interest, program with, not for. So that's the first bullet.
Yes. Okay.
You all are good?
Yeah.
Wait, so the fullness of diverse needs, is that what we're saying?
Mhm.
Of their diversity. Oh, okay.
Diversity?
Oh, the fullness of,
There, because you're looking at the fourth bullet point, right? You're trying to merge here?
yes.
Yeah. Okay, so one more time.
Okay, so would we want to say, okay, we could say and take it verbatim in terms of the fullness
So,
of their diversity. Yes, I think we keep that. Good job.
And then the fourth bullet goes away.
The fourth bullet would go away. I may need Damon to help me with that one.
An endorsement of more responsive programming based on local community, the fullness of diversity
Of their
Needs.
diversity.
and interests.
yeah,
Did we put equity in there?
We need to bring it up. So may I take a stab at this?
Go ahead. I love it.
An endorsement of more responsive programming based on local community need, the fullness of their diversity and equity needs.
Of their diversity.
Of their diversity,
Because
okay.
it's the community's diversity that we're particularly calling out in this combination.
That's good.
but the last part, David, one more time though, the very.
Diversity and what was the last word?
Yeah,
And equity.
And equity.
Yeah, I
period.
don't want to lose equity, and equity
Yeah.
period.
And equity period, I think, though,
I
right?
mean, whether you want to keep interest in, I think maybe that's understood.
I think it's understood too. I don't think you need interest.
All right. So an endorsement of more responsive programming based on local community need, the fullness of their diversity and equity.
Perfect. We're good?
And then you're keeping the parentheses part program with not for.
Okay, we'll keep the parentheses. Yeah, that's good. Okay,
So bullet number 4 now is totally eliminated.
eliminated. Okay, great. This is moving along. All right, bullet number 2. So increase outreach at the local level to local and broader regional user and non-user communities and local partners. So the edit I had was increase outreach at the local level to broader regional user and non-user communities. So we moved to local and broader. That one would be eliminated, local and.
It's better.
And then so it'd be increased outreach at the local level to broader regional user and non-user communities and local business and government partners. Just to kind of expand. And local business,
Isn't that like a
that,
contradiction? Are we saying increase on the local level to the broader level? Wait, isn't that kind of weird?
So I think the original thought of this bullet was that the focus is on increasing outreach specifically. And, ensuring that's at the local level, meaning in our neighborhoods specifically, but not to the exclusion of our broader regional user and non-user communities, because we are also the library for the Commonwealth. So we don't want to, we're not declaring that we're suddenly only about Boston's neighborhoods, although we do want to increase outreach there, while at the same time ensuring that we can also broaden our outreach to our regional users.
So just to pick up on what you're saying, could you just say increase research to our neighborhoods and the Commonwealth at large, since that's what you really need?
That sounds wonderful.
it's the neighborhood.
Very,
Yeah,
very
it's the
succinct and
neighborhood,
clear.
right?
Neighborhood.
We should say neighborhood. We should say neighborhood.
Yeah.
So, okay, repeat that for us, Michelle.
I said increase outreach to our neighborhoods and the Commonwealth at large,
Yeah,
Good.
because then that sort of brings in kind of everybody.
like that captures the whole writ large. Yeah, that's it.
I like that.
Mhm.
All right.
We're on a roll.
Okay, good. Because that captures government, business, doesn't matter. It's everyone's incorporated. Okay, great.
Please.
So we got that, right?
Yep.
Second bullet is just increase outreach to our community.
Neighborhoods.
No, our
Our neighborhoods.
Our neighborhood.
Yep. So increase outreach.
To the neighborhoods and Commonwealth at large.
Mhm.
Who are the non-user communities, just as a,
People who don't use us yet.
okay.
I like having that.
That we want to capture.
You like.
Like having,
I like having the outreach to the non-user communities because I feel like that's really key. You know,
In
it's,
terms of growing, yeah.
yeah.
I wonder, do we capture that in the next bullet? Perhaps?
I think you're right.
We do. With the one with the page.
I like that too. That's why I was just scanning to see if it
I
showed.
mean, yes, because the next one includes patron acquisition,
Yeah.
which is about bringing in new.
Yeah, and maybe we can just be a little bit more specific or understand or amplify it more. If that's helpful.
Does that work for you, John? Or what do you think?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I feel like it's a little tangential, but
Mm, Yeah.
I like the idea of specifically targeting non-user communities.
Yes.
I think that's important.
That's a specific action.
Yeah, that is specific. You're right.
Yeah, and it feels important.
Neighborhoods.
So neighborhoods
User
and
communities.
Commonwealth.
Yeah, so maybe it's after neighborhoods is a comma. So we do 3 bullets, right?
You could say neighborhoods,
Comma,
non-user.
that's right.
communities,
And Commonwealth at large.
I'm good with that. You're great at it.
Yeah,
I get it from my mom.
all right.
That's good.
I like that one.
Non-user. Oh, Rep. Tyler, sorry.
Yes.
I,
Hi, Madam Chair. Hi, everyone. So glad to see you all. I just wanted to make a quick comment on so it says, communities and user and non-user communities. And I would kind of add communities that are like difficult to reach too, to kind of put us in a space of, trying to reach them. There's a lot of folks out there that just have problems with just like trying to engage and just, trying to get online, for example, with Wi-Fi, with some of the big programs that we have. So just maybe hard to reach. That way, it gives us a task to do in the future.
Mm. So how would you, I see what you're saying. How would you frame it? Go ahead, Jose.
So that would
Yeah.
be a subset of the non-user, right? And that was what you're saying is the non-user at large is anyone, everyone who's not making use of our services. Within that group, there's a hard group that because of challenges has become a non-user.
Right. Like we don't want to make it seem like their fault as is the reason why they're not using. Maybe it might
That's
just be
right.
an access problem. So yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Great catch.
Maybe, hold on. So what's the edited bullet point now? As it is?
So if we include that last comment, it could become increase outreach to the neighborhoods, the Commonwealth at large, to include non-users and difficult to reach communities.
Again, very plain English like
Yep.
that.
That's good.
Yeah.
That is good. Okay, one more time. Okay, one more time, David.
Increase outreach to the neighborhoods.
I would say our neighborhoods. Yes.
Our neighborhoods,
Mhm.
the Commonwealth at large, including non-users and difficult to reach communities.
I like it because each of these categories is observable.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And, so if we set up a,
Metrics.
Wow.
Yeah, we
I think it
can,
should be a little
Yeah.
different,
they can.
You can see where we are, what's the
The way you-
baseline.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, are we good with that? That was great. Great job, Rep. Tyler. Thank you. Okay, third bullet. Support a robust communications plan to increase patron acquisition, user engagement, and reintroducing the library and knowledge richness to our local and broader communities. So the minor edit I had was support a robust communications plan to increase patron acquisition and user engagement by reintroducing the library and all of its richness to our local and broader communities.
So we achieved that. Okay.
Because we've said local and Commonwealth above, I wonder if simplifying that last phrase down to introducing the library and all its richness to our communities.
Okay. We could say that, absolutely.
I just have a
Everyone's
quick
okay?
comment about that. I just have a quick comment about that. So the word like introducing, is kind of reading as people aren't familiar with the library. And I think that we do so much work to not, credit ourselves for that. So maybe like continue to expose or another adjective there or a different word there can kind of work better,
Yes.
but this is,
I like that.
Support of reverse communication.
So you're saying by exposing or by highlighting.
Are we reintroducing or are we engaging? Is it informing? Is it inform and engage? Are those the actions we're reaching out to people to inform them and engage them? Or invite would be invite, inform, engage. I'm not certain. It's too many words.
I like highlight.
I think highlight.
Highlight.
Say,
By highlighting, highlight,
yeah,
if we were to say.
read it again, please.
Support a robust communications plan to increase patron acquisition and user engagement by highlighting the library and all its richness to
Yeah.
our communities.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, highlighting, yep. Okay. Yes, that came out.
Why is communications capitalized?
What?
I have a habit of doing that too,
Okay.
words that I'm just putting emphasis on. So
Okay.
thank you for
I just was
copying it
wondering.
too, yes.
Local and broader is out. So it's just communities. One more. Support a robust communications plan to increase patron acquisition and user engagement by highlighting the library and all its richness to our communities. Okay.
I don't even think, I mean, we can say that. I don't even think we need look to our community.
Yeah, we could just say
highlight
knowledge
it.
richness.
Yeah, just to anybody
Yes.
in our communities or out of our communities.
You know what? That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is-
Yeah, richness, stop at richness. I like that. Huh, highlighting the library in all its richness. Oh, that's nice. That's
Sounds good.
simple. Okay, are you guys okay? Everyone's fine with that? Okay, great. Okay, fourth bullet is eliminated. So that's gone. The fifth one now, support specific opportunities for strategic collaboration with friend groups with interest in strategic community engagement. So change this one, okay? So I have it as support specific opportunities for strategic collaboration with branch library friends groups to increase community engagement.
Yeah.
Oh, no, to increase community participation. Or you could use engagement, right? I thought we use engagement a lot. That's why I
Yeah.
switched to participation. So it would, go ahead, John. You want me to read it? I'll read it again? Yes, and, okay, so support, okay, no, oh, yes, okay, support, I'm like another bullet. Support specific opportunities for strategic collaboration with branch library friends groups to increase community participation.
Okay, I had another point on this one.
Okay, good.
And that was, and I don't know if it belongs here, it could belong somewhere else, but I had also assessed collaborations with other nonprofits and even for-profits in achieving the goals of the strategic plan. You know,
Okay.
you remember the story I told about the library coming to the zoo? It was such a great engagement
Yes,
of young people that was totally unexpected and really well executed and it was powerful. And I think we should have that in here somewhere.
yes. And it could be after the friends group, because you're saying we could list three, right? It's not just the friends groups.
Yeah.
It's nonprofits, it's the business community, it's, it's everything.
Yeah.
And business folks can use the library to have meetings, right? And so how do we start?
Well, I think they can also be supporters.
Well, yes, they could give money, absolutely. No doubt, John. Okay, so how would we say that? I like that addition.
I would almost go as far as to see if this works without losing any of that idea. Support specific opportunities for strategic collaboration with branch library friends groups and other partners to increase community participation.
So
So I would
partners
say-
be incorporating everything at large.
I
So it'd be
think-
like nonprofits, cultural organizations,
Yes, everything.
for-profits,
Yeah.
business, everything.
Or do we go specific and go a little deep, right? It's perfect the way you said it, and other non and for-profit organizations, right?
Partnerships is,
Everything.
it's everything. It doesn't limit the opportunity. And I think if we get too specific, then it might.
It's also, the more you get into the weeds, the more.
We're gonna
you get
miss
into
people.
the. You
Why
either
didn't
do
it
that
include me?
or it's more heavily into the detailed work of the library.
Okay, can you say it one more time for me?
Support specific opportunities for strategic collaboration with branch library friends groups and other partners to increase community participation.
Oh, good job.
Thanks, John, for looking out for the nonprofits.
I know.
Appreciate you around the table.
I know.
Rep Tyler, what do you think? Did she hear me? No. Still on. She's on.
Yeah.
Rep, you're good, right? She's good then. Okay, you captured that, Pamela? Okay, we'll move on to the next one. As I'm looking at my thing, okay, thank you, receive reports. Gotta go on. Receive reports on and recommendations for issues affecting community engagement and comment as appropriate. So I have minor changes. Review reports and recommendations on issues affecting the Community Engagement Committee and comment as appropriate. Right?
Yep.
So review reports and recommendations on issues affecting the Community Engagement Committee and comment as appropriate.
Perfect.
Good? Okay. Everyone's fine? You got that?
Well, wait a minute,
What?
but by specifying that community engagement committee, that's narrower than saying community engagement.
It's just
I
us.
agree.
Oh, okay. So you're saying we don't need the committee. We don't need the community.
It's
I mean, committee, we don't need the committee. Okay, that's good.
About engagement.
Yep, so there it is. Okay, so Pamela, we're taking out the last, okay, good. Okay, perfect. Okay, we're gonna move to the second to last bullet. Provide recommendations to the Board of Trustees on strategic, no. Did we take it out?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We took it out already. Okay, perfect. Community engagement issues, perfect. So provide recommendations to the Board of Trustees on community engagement issues. That's fine. I don't know. Any changes?
The last two bullets, are we gonna low cap the community, the words community engagement? Or we're gonna keep it,
It was because it was committee.
oh, okay,
So it's no longer committee, so we should lower case.
okay.
The editor.
Thank you. We need that.
Very good. And the last bullet, support the development of a long-range strategic plan for the strategic community engagement. So I would say eliminate, and I was using it as committee, guys, so I had like support the development of a long-range plan. Maybe we say long-term plan, it doesn't matter, plan for the community engagement committee, right? Or is it just community engagement?
I think it's just community engagement.
Okay.
And
Support the development of a long-range strategic plan for the community
I
engagement.
think we dropped the.
Take out done for, yeah, you made, okay, perfect. There were changes. Take out that done in front of community. You got it.
And just as a footnote, as we're on this topic, given that the library will engage on formal strategic planning, in
Yeah.
fact, the chair is launching, the trustees are launching a path process. This bullet could turn into feeding into that work. Opposed to
Absolutely.
a
Very
entirely
good.
As a
separate
matter
plan.
of fact, that's what the notes I wrote said, it suggested we establish a recommended pillar statement for inclusion in the strategic plan in regard to community engagement.
Hmm.
Very good.
Develop and recommend as above tactics to achieve the community engagement strategy. So I think it would be appropriate for us to at least draft language for.
To put something in it.
Pillar.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's good.
love that.
Because there is the strategic
Right.
plan being
And the
worked
committee
on.
will be coming, they'll be looking for your input,
Perfect.
right?
This is great. That's it. Good job, team.
That was
All right, yeah.
Pamela, you need anything from us? Is it clear? Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna need a vote, but this was fantastic.
Yeah.
And it was your work, right? Because you all were in the conversation last year
Last
and
year.
so.
I'm not putting any.
No, because we're saying that should be used when the strategic plan is happening, that there's a section on
To-do list.
Yeah.
community engagement committee where we say something, right? Good. All right, team. Just have to, I think. Doing good on time. Okay, and since we've just gone through, looking at the charter, the committee charter and principles, we need a vote. And so the motion is that the Community Engagement Committee of the Public Library of the City of Boston vote to adopt the charter and principles as discussed and determined on January 11, 2023. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay, the ayes have it. Great job.
Hey.
Still good.
Business done.
Okay, so now we're gonna go to staff, but David, do you want to introduce folks or just?
Yes, so we over the course of several meetings, identified a few topic areas. And the two that we're bringing forward and having staff present on today will be Priscilla Foley, who's our Director of Neighborhood Services. And it's to Priscilla that all of the branch staff and branches report. And then Priscilla will be followed by Lisa Pollock, our Chief of Communications and Marketing Strategy, which will go, I think, in parallel to the topics of the day and the topics that are now in our officially voted and approved charter. So we'll start with some high-level updates from Priscilla, and then I think even more detail from Lisa. Welcome.
Good afternoon. I do want to just say, in this room earlier today, we had a new staff orientation. Hiring new amazing people is a huge part of this. And so it was a great opportunity to bring all of these new staff together, show them this beautiful branch and give them an orientation of sort of like what we're doing. But part of that is also hiring people to be able to continue to connect with the community. So with community engagement, we're bringing services in this sort of what we're traditionally calling outreach, bringing these services to places that people are not able to come, or they might even be uneasy or intimidated. This building can be a little scary to people sometimes, and they don't know like where to find things. So we would go out and go into a daycare and do a story time and go into these neighborhoods and engage with them. And so that is a huge part of what the staff do. The other part is looking at marketing. Recent surveys that we've done for various reasons, there were some feedback that we got where we heard residents tell us, we didn't know the library did that. So marketing towards our current users, but also our new users, things like taxi vouchers, things like tax prep help, things like test prep. So these are all things that are connecting various age groups that we know that are needed. And for example, the test prep is huge for SAT, ISE, SOE, ISEE, and the ACT. So all of these amazing preps that are free and open to all the students that need them. Another thing we're looking at, so branches connecting with the neighborhoods, and this is really sort of more of the fun things, is where we're bringing in the crafts and mosaics and painting and dancing story times and connecting our neighborhoods with literacy, lifelong learning, and fun. And this sort of being able to come in, yes, we are there to do workforce development. We are there to help with resumes. We're there to do one-on-one tech appointments, but we are also there to learn about poetry and learn about music and having sort of that disconnect and that fun. The other thing we're looking at that we're always doing is asking, not necessarily what can the library do, but what does the neighborhood need? And part of that is connecting our neighborhood libraries with our city resources and other resources in the neighborhoods. Like Dorchester, for example, works tremendously with Mass Hire. We also have started with our partnership with Age Strong in City Hall to be bringing office hours to neighbors. So coming in, City Hall can also be intimidating to people, and being that city resource and being that sort of door into city government. And even though people don't see us as that, that's what we are here for, the municipal representations in the neighborhoods, and we want to expand on that. So that's really the high levels that we're looking at on that. And last year was a building year. We're building more, bringing in more staff, and this is really what the team's working on across the system right now.
I think just a couple of things to add. Like an average branch staff is 6 to 8 people. And we've had, I think in reality, 2, 3, sometimes 4 vacancies in any of those locations over the last year, which means even staffing to meet opening hours has been a challenge. Now, I did task Priscilla and her branch librarians with working on a community outreach plan for each location, because every neighborhood is different, every community is different. And to your credit, those are on paper, but it's unfair of me to expect you to be able to execute on that until the staffing gaps are closer to a normal level. So I think to call last year and maybe at least half of this coming year as a building year is fair. So, you know, I want to share that for everybody's understanding that, you know, we're on our way, but there are constraints that we're still working through that will determine our effectiveness. But I agree from the last three new employee orientations, there is great, fresh, new energy and ideas being added to the capacity of the existing staff in this work. So I remain incredibly hopeful that we will be in a much more engaged modality 6 months, 9 months, 12 months from now, based upon the work that's being done and in complete alignment with what I think the principles and charter of this committee that we just worked on is. So thank you.
We can ask.
We could ask questions,
Yeah.
yes.
One of the things that I'm really curious about is the, you know, like if you walked us through the libraries, could do some of the branches. You know, like, you know, when you go to Mattapan, you see the quilts. When you go to JP, you see, you know, different. Can you talk about, give the committee a feel? I don't know. I don't think everybody completed their passport. I know I'm still making
I'm
my
still
way
making my
around.
way.
Pretty good.
You,
I'm not finished yet, but I'm doing. I got a water bottle.
Oh. Passports don't expire
I got a
either.
water bottle already, okay.
Anyway.
Work to do, thank you, Jose.
Yeah, so maybe the two of you could kind of walk us through, you know, what's the look and feel of, you know, you don't have to do all the branches, but just tell us about what, when we talk about services to neighborhoods, what's unique branch by a few of the branches?
So I'm gonna start with, and I won't go into, I could talk, so. They are all my babies. But I do want to, so one branch that has been particularly short-staffed this year is the Eggleston Square branch. And even with that, Claire, the children's librarian, has still managed, she's consistently, with the support of the staff that have come from other locations, to cover lunches, to make sure she can do her outreach and her class visits. She had last week a stuffed animal sleepover, and so the neighborhood children were invited to bring their favorite stuffed animal over to have a sleepover, which, you know, this is creating this, it helps with separation anxiety, it helps with a tremendous amount of things for development for the children. And she took pictures of, you know, one of the stuffed animals, which was the story time for the stuffed animals. They were using the copier and. So this is just, when going into Eggleston, Eggleston is a space that it needs a new branch, but the staff there are bringing the life and the energy to the neighborhood every day. And so that is one of those. So we're looking at Eggleston, a space where the building is not keeping up with what the staff are doing, but the city is coming along with that. But that is one of the things, and we see those at every location, and looking at different ways. One of the things that we're looking forward to for the spring is the seed libraries, which is a way that all of the participating branches are able to connect in with their patrons coming in to say, nope, these are free. Come take them. Let's learn about urban gardening. And so that's another one of those. Another location that I will talk about, just because it has already been renovated, and the usage of the Roxbury branch, and how how it was used in previous years, but we have a tremendous amount of school children that are coming. I say children, it's actually teenagers that I'm talking about. So I'm talking about that 14, 13-year-old. They're there doing their homework. So you walk in and maybe they get, because they're kids, they get a little bit anxious and excited, and staff guide them over to where the teens are. They start their homework, they calm down a little bit, and they start getting to work. And in let's thinking about this sort of pre-renovation and post-renovation of those two locations, it's really great to see. We have just tremendous staff across the system. Also, if anybody wants to say what location they are, I'm happy to tell them. what's going on.
Maybe Laurel Cannon's work at Mattapan as well.
Of course, yeah. So Laurel is a newer type of position for the branches where she's doing tech help. So we identified pre-pandemic that Mattapan was a location that desperately needed to have more infusion of tech help. The amount of assistance needed was not enough for staff. So Laurel is there, and she's teaching computer classes. She's doing one-on-one help. She's doing resume assistance. And then she is also going into doing outreach at nearby locations to bring those tech skills there. And that is one of those partnerships that we have with our colleagues at Community Learning. So technically Laurel reports to a different department, but she's working very exceptionally in the Mattapan branch, and we're very excited to have her there doing that work.
That's wonderful.
Who's the one, is Laurel the one that came from Alabama or something like that?
So in the Mattapan branch, Lauren Duke is the teen librarian, and she did come up here from Alabama, and yes, and she's been here for a few months. So we've had Amy is a newer children's librarian as well, and then we're actually interviewing my team. Part of what we do is we look at the entire system, and we say, and we also obviously get input from the branches. We talk to Maurice about what do you need? He's the branch librarian. What do you need to be successful, and having that tech support? So we are actually got an additional position for the Mattapan branch, and we're going to be able to to be able to serve the community even more, get that outreach, tell people about, tell the neighborhood about what they can do there, what we can offer, bring those resources to them, and also have them coming in. But yes, so Lauren is the.
Yeah, she was impressive. I mean, I think, my visiting I haven't visited all, obviously, that's still my goal, but those that I visited, what I picked up is, in a certain way, some are a reflection of the neighborhoods in many ways. So West Roxbury, when I went to visit, and of course, it's the time you go to visit the library, right? Who's there, what's happening? But West Roxbury was very much a West Roxbury feel of the neighborhood, elderly, a senior, proud and engaged, and very much like, this is my library, At the same time, a lot of kids and, mothers with children. Mattapan was thriving with a diverse community and young, engaged, new community. And I saw the library as being that gateway in many ways, and many of them connected to schools and how they spoke to me, the kids. The other piece which you raised about your connection with the other branches of city services, Age Strong Commission, for instance, is the proximity of some of these libraries to other entities that are city entities, right? So the Children Family Service Centers, Rosendale is one that comes to mind. They're right down the street, the movie building from Hyde Park, right down. I mean, it's like literally you come out the door and you're right there, right? So you can think of how engaged those types of entities can be and how they anchor those areas as well, And the other piece I would say is when I went to the Hyde Park Library, Lou Jones had a photo exhibit, and I know Lou, and to have somebody of that caliber at the Hyde Park Library, small little area where his photos were, but they were, and I have pictures of them to die for photos. We're talking about Lou Jones, international photographer, Hyde Park Library branch. What? Wait a minute, And there was excitement around my neighborhood as far as people who knew Lou was in the library. They were telling me, have you seen Lou's? Have you seen Lou's? Have you seen Lou's? So I think in that sense, just the small engagements I've had, and I'm trying to repeat as many as possible so I can really get a flavor of the culture. Says a lot. The other piece I want to ask about, what you were saying, where you are now compared to where you were and where you hope to be by the end of this year. Where are you finding that you're starting to complement what you need? Which branches, and where are you still short that you really say, you know what, we need to focus and bring that extra 2-3 people that we need? Just to give us a quick snapshot.
So East Boston is an example of a space that we had advocated to increase the staffing there, and where we feel like we're about there. And that is, we have enough staff there that they can go out and engage. They can go, they can be there, they can do the programming, and they can get all of what they need to, all the celebration that they want, all of the tech support that they, and get that.
It's got the trifecta of, it's a modern newer building. It's fully staffed-ish for now,
Yeah.
right? There can always be more.
Yeah.
And the activity level and the numbers across a range of offerings manifest that. So.
And I can bear witness to that one. I've seen it.
And Hyde Park is a branch that is enormous. But it is such a, the vibe, if you haven't been there, the energy and the vibe there, the staff have, it is such a calm, just welcoming space. And if you, when we were closed last year, I had taken my children there because we needed to go do something. We came in from the older part, and then we went out, and then we came in from the newer part, and because there was a sheet in the middle and they couldn't see it, and they were like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. And once the sheet's down, you can see those two spaces connecting. We know we need additional staff. There's children's library, the children's libraries in the basement is always packed and is always needed. And so we do want to have some extra support. So that's one of those locations that we're looking to increase some, the full-time employees there, just to be able to get out into the branch, to be able to connect to the city resources that are there.
Rosendale seems to be in a good place, from what I say.
Yeah.
Seems a good place.
Yeah, I think Roxbury and Mattapan are two very interesting stories in terms of, well, I can't really say post-COVID, but post the first 2 years of COVID, the recovery of usage by the community was slower than in other spaces like JP or East Boston. But depending on the time of day, yes, tons of teenagers now again in a way. So it just took a little bit longer, and it's getting there. But then you have, say, a Parker Hill that was renovated. It was more of an envelope renovation. We didn't like redesign the whole thing. Decent staffing levels, great staff, very slow, very, very lower level engagement with that community. So we kind of, not words, we'd almost kind of have to go location by location to understand what's the engagement with the community, what's the activity level, what's the staffing level, what's the condition of the facility itself, and yeah, so.
And actually, one of the other places that I will mention, because it's an older building, we're short-staffed, is the South Boston branch is engaged. They're always around there. They're doing outreach. They have very active children's programs there, and they are very responsive to the needs of the community, saying, okay, we've got these moms groups coming in. We're going to increase our story times. We're going to make sure that we are getting everything that the community is asking for. They've got an excellent relationship with their friends that are tremendous advocates to them. So that's just another branch. It's older. It is, doesn't have the outlets that they need, but they really do amazing work, that team there.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
So I'm not part of the neighborhood services group, but this week I started my yoga program at the Roxbury branch, and I was stunned. It's a class that's offered on a Monday afternoon, and 18 people showed up for the first class. I had one tiny ad in the banner. So I was surprised. And then since that time, like 6 more people have registered. The class capacity is supposed to be 25, but we moved, we talked. I had them doing some other exercises, drawing exercises. We're talking about chakras and doing chair yoga. I was just surprised at the amount of people that came out, and a lot of it was a senior population. And many of them just expressed to me how hard it was for them during the pandemic to be shut down. They're just beginning to come back out. They asked me for more classes per week, which is probably, it's not going to happen right away. But anyway, it was just great because there's a huge need for a community.
Yeah.
People want to be in community. And then, so the other good thing is I put together a reading list from the program. And I found what books were at the library. So this is really like to feed them back to the library. So you can do the program. If you want to dig deeper, here are the books you can get from the library. So people are definitely like chomping at the bit to get back into the world and to be with each other.
Excellent.
That's wonderful,
Yeah.
Michelle. I want to thank you,
Thank you.
Priscilla, right?
Yeah.
Your energy and your passion and really understanding the communities and the neighborhoods. And we're just pumped. I mean, you just brought it and you can answer stuff around all the libraries, which is fantastic. So thank you.
And it's
Working with you, that's good.
the staff across the system we couldn't do any of this without them. So thank you. And thank you all for being here for that.
Is your hiring picture improving?
Yes.
Good.
Good.
So part two of our content comes from Lisa Pollock, who's our Chief of Communications. So Lisa will invite you up and have you, this is kind of
The clicker.
Communications, how it works. So my shop covers all 26 locations of Boston Public Library and all 12,000 programs. Just don't want to let that number sink in for a minute. 12,000 programs a year, which is amazing. I'm friendly with somebody who had this job before I had it. And she said, one thing about this job is you will never lack for content. Drinking out of a fire hose. Unbelievable. So, my job is to take the work that Priscilla and her team are doing and get it out into the universe. So this is a slightly more detailed presentation because I feel like outreach and communications are, effectively the same thing. They go hand in hand. So I thought I'd give you a sense of what we do, how we work, how we're structured, and what our output looks like. So we do consider ourselves an in-house sort of strategic communications agency. We cover marketing, public relations, internal communications, social media, and web services. It's a lot, and it's great. I'm lucky. So our priorities mirror those of the library, obviously: equity, diversity, and inclusion. Developing economic and workforce equity, youth engagement, and civic engagement. We are structured. We are small but mighty. We have, what do we have now? 7, including me. For example, DC has 13 staff members. That's not including their web services team. I say that not as a denigration, but just like the staff that we have are really quite remarkable. And I also want to thank David in advance. We've now got 2 brand new positions in the shop. The first new position is that of digital content manager. We actually have somebody managing our social media and only social media for the first time. The department was constituted in 2013 before social media became a full-time job. So that is phenomenal. We also have a public relations associate. They support the public relations side of the house. And the reason for creating that capacity was because we realized that we could do a lot more in outreach to media that serve communities that don't have English as their first language. Or let's face it, the weeklies in Boston. I should be talking to Yahoo Miller every week, and we're just not. So having that PR associate to assist will enable us to do a lot of that. There's also the senior marketing associate who we just hired a new marketing associate, digital content, and then our web services librarian. So what do we cover? We have social media and streaming. Our main channels are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We have a fairly robust following, 52,000 on Facebook, 30,000 on Twitter, 35,000 on Instagram. Instagram, interestingly, is our most robust platform. It's where we have the most engagement. Facebook is a close second, but it's interesting. Our new digital content person just did a strategy for me, and she presented it yesterday. So we're really digging into some of our demographics to make sure that we're putting the right content on the right platform. So for example, we're finding Facebook great for events, not so great for sort of what's happening in the moment, just because the Facebook ecosystem has shifted so much. We are also finding that people are actually going to Instagram for information, not just pretty pictures anymore. So that's a shift that we've seen. We also have Facebook pages for all of our branches, and some departments do have their own social accounts. And we have created editorial guidelines for how we use our YouTube channel better as sort of an archive for some of our more prominent programs.
I had a question on which of the branches are running Facebook accounts? Who's keeping up with them?
Exactly. That's why we have Olivia, our new digital content person. But so there are ways to do it. We run everything through a platform called Hootsuite. And so you can create, it's called Hootsuite.
Yes.
And you can you can create a list and you can just sort of monitor. But one of the things that we are going to be doing is creating a social media liaison program. So the plan is to stand up a channel in Teams, have each branch designate a specific liaison who will be the social media person in direct contact with us. We can push content to them. They can push content to us. We can give them templates. We can support them because some of the branch pages are really robust and they really know what they're doing. And some less so. But
Teams, by the way, is our intern.
oh, excuse me, sorry,
platform.
sorry, jargon. But we want to be there to support. You know, we don't want to be in the business of telling people you did it wrong. We want to say, here are all the tools you need. Oh, and by the way, here's Olivia and she can help you. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So the public relations side of the house, this is the media side of the house. Last year in 2022, there were 453 media mentions of the Boston Public Library in 171 different outlets. Being here is sort of a PR person's dream. We have amazing brand recognition. We have a little bit of a halo around us. The media coverage tends to be really favorable. Coming from the municipal side, the mayor's office and housing, let me tell you, that is a dream come true. So what we do on the PR side of the house is press releases. We do a weekly media alert for all the things and events that are going on around the library. We have partner announcements. We have a ton of incoming media inquiries, just people calling us up and saying, hey, you know, I'm from CNN. Can you tell me about, you know, Elizabeth Cady Stanton? Sure. I need to remove social media. Sorry about that. And also connect. And this side of the house also works with our other city departments for promotion. So for example, if we are announcing a 1% for Art project in Roxbury, for example, we would partner with the city's Office of Arts and Culture to amplify that. Marketing side of the house.
So
yes,
we used to have that great report, and now that, you know, Mayor Wu is there, you know, if the previous administration wanted the details, so Pamela would send me that wonderful report and it had all the press releases and the inquiries and everything like that. So you are still collecting that information internally, right?
We are, and Sarah and I were having this very conversation last week where I was complaining about not seeing the aggregated document anymore because what the current administration wants is very, very highlighted bullets,
right,
as opposed to the medium level of detail that we had. And so I've asked us to start, for internal purposes, recirculating that medium level of detail. I mean, I don't think anyone wants to go back to the 20-page version, but that has all the detail in it. So yes.
It's really
we still have a robust media tracker, so we track every hit.
But for us to know.
Yeah, sure. That's great. I mean,
and, you know, and what I also enjoyed about that was, you know, they would have like feedback from the librarians or people going to the library saying how it impacted their life. There'd be these little snippets in there that were provided as well.
Lisa, what was the email that you sent me on Friday when Sarah did her first retake of this?
I said, and I quote, "Would this be useful for the trustees?" And David said, "Yes." Yes. Stay tuned for more. Stay tuned for more. On the marketing side of the house, we have print collateral. Our affinity book lists are a massive project for us. So Black is Latinx. Last year, we did Native Lives, Native Stories for the first time, and Pride. We do bookmarks and rack cards and flyers and logos and whiskers on kittens and paid advertising. Not saying, just saying that's a thing I'd like to do a lot more of. It's expensive, but when we do it, it seems to do two things. One, it moves the needle. Two, it also shows that we're a good community partner and we're supporting community newspapers because the barrier to the financial barrier to entry is much lower in the weekly, and we like supporting them. We have Books and Beyond is sort of our premier newsletter with 300,000 survivors. Time for more coffee. Subscribers. What's amazing about that is we have an over 50% open rate for our newsletter, which is unheard of for email marketing. I mean, my colleague Erin, who runs our email marketing, told me that, and I literally almost fell off my chair. It just does not happen. So people want to see, people want to know. And we also have genre newsletters, so you can sign up for your romance newsletter and get statistics. And we also have oversight of all of our brand standards.
Lisa, if I can interrupt you.
You may.
Back to the first point, from collateral to the book list. I find that to be very informative. It leads me to reading certain things that I wouldn't have thought of reading. I quote it often.
Great.
So depending on which one is out, I will quote it either on my show and or when I do live conversations. The native one I use repeatedly during the month of November, going into December, and several of the different venues I was at. I would start using some of the quotes from what you all wrote. But I congratulate you on that. It's good work. And I think I have one or two of each one of those that you have out there. So
Excellent.
Thank you for that.
Well, stay tuned for the next Black Is, which is already at the printer.
Okay.
And one interesting thing that we've started doing is now that we have social media support is we've added a social media component. So we're not just pushing out the book lists, we're doing daily book recommendations. We're also pulling in things from our special collections that has to do with what the month is. So it's become kind of a robust program that we're really fond of. Web services, it's pretty self-explanatory. What is the look and feel and content of bpl.org? Just to give you a sense of what we do every month. 4 issues of the internal newsletter, 4 events-based media alerts, the patron newsletter, the genre newsletters, new social media content, inbound media requests. We can get 20 a month, 1 to 4 press releases. Ready for this? Between 225 and 400 event approvals. Yeah. So we proofread every event that our colleagues post to the website. That is a massive, massive number. Flyer approvals, the clips, and on and on and on. But I say this less to say like we're working so hard, and more about this staff has created a really robust program for what we do, and they're accomplishing a lot.
I don't know what it means, event approvals and that.
Sure.
What is that?
So on our website, when you click events,
Yes.
right, you'll click on an event and there's a description.
Yes.
We proofread every single one of those for quality control.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, we're the library having typos.
It's copy editing as well as proofreading.
Tightening up.
And then that goes into the local branches, so as well, the events at Central Library or across?
Across the entire system.
This is like the 26 branch.
If we didn't have that, I think we'd be having a different conversation
Yeah,
about.
no, and I can I can attest to that, yeah.
I mean, I think it's, you know, the stepping back strategic questions for me, which Lisa and I have bounced back and forth a few times and will continue to do so, is it's with all that's going on, all that we offer and all that gets pushed out, how is it possible we're not reaching everybody? Or how is it possible that people will still say, oh, I didn't know the library did that? I think those are real experiences. And, you know, I think the flip side of the coin of this question becomes, should we be doing less, but with deeper engagement? And I'm not asking us to, there's no magic answer to this, but these are the questions that come up given the volume, I think, that is happening.
So can I share an anecdote around that with the group? So 2021, early 2022, I did a series of presentations in the branches on Latin music. So the question would be, okay, who was aware of it, who saw it, who participated, et cetera, et cetera. So just this past Saturday, I did an event at the High Square Task Force where the person who leads the music program for the children says to me, we're using your curriculum as part of our program. I said, oh, that's interesting. So he is probably too removed.
Yeah.
In other words, he wasn't there. He didn't watch it, but he was aware of it. And he's like, taking it, right? I don't think he appears in any of our statistics, nor do the kids that he engaged with or the parents. Same thing happened when they painted the mural on JP. And the person painting it says, you know, I got a lot of these ideas from your thing. And I said, really? And again, wasn't there, didn't watch it real time, became aware later. And he was watching it from Uruguay, of all places, right? I don't think those folks appear on our radar screen as far as the number that we can attest to that resulting in them.
Sure.
So I think that there, in that non-user that we spoke of in our statement, that non-user includes them. There are non-users who benefit from the work of the library, but don't appear in any demographic as being a user. Follow what I'm saying? I mean, that's my perception of just that small anecdotal experience.
And it's not that we necessarily need the adulation. We just want to make the impact.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the goal of all of this, is just let more people know about what is available. Want to be mindful of people's time, but just a sense of what we're doing every quarter. I can send around the deck if you guys are interested. So we actually have strategies. I come out of consulting, so you know we have to guide ourselves some way. So to David's point about sort of drinking from the fire hose, what we want to start doing is promoting our priority services and programs thematically, packaging things into press releases, packaging, marketing better, rethinking and relaunching our editorial board meetings, which is the one way in person where people surface ideas to us and we can vet them.
In internal staff.
Internal staff, yes.
At least at the time.
Yes. Infusing EDI strategies into our work. This should probably be goal number one, because we need to enhance the participation of everybody in a lot of different communities.
I think I wouldn't undersell. I was going to highlight the translation piece here, and that you and Rudney, who's our equity programs officer, that I hope we'll hear from at a later meeting, has really championed the multi-language outreach component of this work. And yeah, so just to highlight that as one very key way in which EDI values are expressed.
Yeah.
I actually want to give a lot of credit to my colleague, Maya Geddes, who is our web services librarian. She continually comes up with ways to make our website more accessible. Right now, we're going to be piloting web pages, 2 web pages at bpl.org, one in Spanish, one in Haitian.
Wow.
The top 2 threshold languages in the city of Boston, and really just an introduction to here's what you can find at the library. Here's what you can do with your library card. Oh, and by the way, here's how to use a Google widget to translate the rest of our website.
What was the first language you said?
Spanish 1 and Haitian Creole 2. And, you know, we'll continue to roll it out, but as a pilot, we will track the analytics and see how much use those get.
So I would just add to, I mean, as you mentioned, and this is fantastic, right? As we look at goal 1, goal 2, and as we think of, you know, the communities, and you mentioned Woodby, is that I want to make sure, and I know it's happening, right? That it's not like the equity thing is not just here, right? But it's integrated into everything. So when we think of like, and it has to be infused, right? Not just with the translation around multi-languages, but when we think of like, you know, just looking at the lens and how we market stuff as well, right? And how do we highlight individuals and librarians and communities? And I think it's important that even working with neighborhood services, right? The work that you're doing in terms of these libraries and the 26 locations, how do we make sure that that lens is incorporated in it? So it's not on the, not just on the sideline, but it's a different bucket, right? So as you're going to be presenting, we know that, and so is Angela, around partnerships, is that I'm sure it's going to touch on marketing and communication, on neighborhood services, but how do we take a holistic approach so that everyone feels like it's all one thing, right? Which is really important.
Can I share an interesting challenge that we have, which is this? You know, the instinct is translate all the things all the time. But what happens when somebody sees a flyer for a program and it's the flyer's translated into Spanish, and then they get there and the program's in English? It's a craptastic experience, right? So there's this balance, right? And I think that we need to start thinking more about interpretation.
Of course.
I think a lot about KBLIC, for example, the Kirsten Business and Innovation Center. There are all these financial empowerments opportunities down there. Last year, for the first time, we did some in Spanish. They were really well attended. But what would happen if we just had these programs and they were interpreted? You know, there are budgetary concerns around that as well. And I am right now working on a new translation and interpretation policy for the library. So thinking about making sure all of our vital documents are translated and and deciding what we translate and when.
Yeah. And I think also with the city, I used to work for the city too, long time ago, but I think they have translation services, right, in terms of their interpretation service. So if you just call, I think, right, in terms of neighborhood services and the other folks, you know, they're able to do it, right? And you think of in terms of cost, because there's going to be cost, but if there's a major program, absolutely. And if it's in a community where it is particular majority Spanish speaking, it would make sense to just tap into our city folk to do it.
More to follow.
I know. Very good.
We're at the very, very beginning, not even.
Yeah, that's great. No, this is good.
Supporting and improving our branch level communications. Hi, Priscilla. It was interesting. So I have my degree in photography, and so Lou Jones, oh my God, I had no idea. And so what that says to me is we need to be surfacing more out of our branches and pushing it out into the universe. We cannot necessarily track everything that is happening, 12,000 programs, 26 locations. And so let's go to the mountain, right? So my plan is to take our entire team on a tour of all the branches, sit with all of them, reintroduce ourselves, and have better lines of communication. So the social media liaison program that I talked about earlier is part of that. Reassessing our training materials, because we do train people how to work with us. And then this Goodwill branch tour I was talking about. And I feel like there are 3 goals that should all be number 1, but patron acquisition, right? I mean, and I think this is very much where you all come in. We have 52,000 followers on Twitter and 300,000 subscribers to our newsletter. That is a closed circle, right? How do we get beyond that circle? And so something I'm thinking a lot about right now is patron acquisition. So we want to figure out how to discover and find and acquire people. We want to convert patrons, want to upsell them. You know, somebody comes in for one thing. Oh, you went to KBLIC for this. Might you also be interested in this? Converting patrons who use the library only for books to patrons who also use our services and understand more about our services. So the dream The dream is that somebody hands us a whole boatload of money to hire an ad agency to blanket the entire city with ads. That's the dream. In the meantime, we will utilize social momentum. That is definitely a key strategy of our social media plan for 23, is thinking about what are the social media trends that we can jump on top of to build more engagement, continue to leverage our City of Boston colleagues, and relationship marketing, which I think is very much where you all come in, helping you be ambassadors for us and spreading the word. Because, you know, the reason social media started to work and spread was because at the beginning, it was all about a network of trusted individuals, right? That's what Facebook was in the very early days before it became a cesspool. But that's what it was. You friended people on Facebook and you could ask for advice, or you could, you know, hear gossip or whatever, but it was a trusted network. LinkedIn works the same way. And we can do this in person as well.
Lisa, I'm going to ask.
Last slide.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So how else? Partnerships, you know, everybody else, every other partner has a newsletter. So can we talk to them? More targeted media outreach. You know, if we have a long enough lead time on a program, we can actually pick out reporters and pitch them. And we can do that here. We can do that in the community. We can do that in the globe. We can do that nationally. Direct mail is a thing that we'd like to explore a little bit more. We need to collect better data. But it's something we're definitely thinking about. More data-based advertising and outreach.
Thanks.
That's great. Questions? Happy to entertain them.
Two good presentations.
I mean, yeah.
I think one thing that we need, and we talked about it in a couple of other committees, is this calendar. You know, like a calendar, which like February, we know is Black History Month. Is there one thing we want to highlight? And Lisa, before you leave, will you please tell them about the CBS thing that's going to be on Sunday so that this committee knows?
I would be delighted to.
Yeah.
Last week, we had CBS Sunday Morning in, and they were doing an interview with Il-Yan Wu, who is an author who wrote a book about the Kraft family, C, not K. And they were an enslaved couple, and they managed to escape because the wife was I hate using this word, but illegitimate child of her enslaver. So she could pass as white. And so she dressed as a man, and she took her husband with her as her slave. And they escaped here to Boston. And so in our special collections, we have a ton of primary source data and not data, but primary source materials, got letters that they wrote. And you look at them and the handwriting it's gorgeous. And these people they only learned to read and write after they had escaped. I mean, it just speaks so highly. So anyway, so she wrote this book and she did the bulk of her research here at the library. So they did a sit-down interview with her, and then we went over to special collections and we looked at some of the objects that she had actually used in her research. So tune in Sunday.
That's
Is
exciting.
the author a Boston-based author? Or
Yeah.
Really?
Yes, not Boston, but Cambridge. It's okay.
No, but ties with the university or
No,
she's not? Okay.
no, she's an author. It is called, if I'm getting
I
this.
mean, so imagine on this calendar.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where there's CBS,
Yeah.
this is gonna air, and imagine if everybody in Boston knew.
The connection, yes.
I mean, this is big. Sunday's huge.
That is big.
I love
This is
Sunday
big,
morning.
and what it's been in a little lecture series or something,
And I believe.
you know,
Oh, she goes on our list to come back for an.
you know,
altar call.
David
Yeah,
Inman,
yeah,
or, you know, or something, or the GBH, or we
Yeah,
have her
no.
in Newsfeed Cafe, or there's so many different.
Right, it's got legs.
It's
No
us.
doubt it has legs. And
I might-
But she does a lot of things like that, which.
those calendars would be of help
Good, Lisa.
to promote
Well,
internally and externally at the same time. I mean, because part of our role, I think, I believe strongly, we're ambassadors,
Yes.
if you will, and part of being ambassadors, sharing that news in many different places in many different ways, regardless of how it is. It could be our own social media, it could be at a coffee clutch, it could be whatever it is, but hey, did you know, or watch this, or whatever, right? So those of us who are engaged with Amari, Embrace Boston, we've been spreading the news about everything and anything having to do with Embrace Boston.
That's right.
But he's behind it, you know, yeah.
People don't know,
We
they
want-
don't know. And if they do know, they want to get engaged. and
Yeah,
involved.
so
Yeah.
Well,
that, yes, okay.
you are in luck because you will now be receiving in your inbox from the amazing Pamela Carver copies of our weekly media blasts.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, good. So that's the blast, like a CBS, everything that's happening. So we're able to get it.
That's all that's sort of like all the events that we promote
Yep,
for the week or bi-weekly.
Yeah.
Yep.
that's wonderful.
And we can circulate the clips as well.
That's great.
Yeah, because we track them every week and we circulate them to leadership every week. So
Yeah.
having you guys is easy.
And this is where the committee, again, plays a role, right? Like in terms of the work that we could be doing, promoting. I'm going to say I've been not that great at it, but I'm doubling down.
Yeah.
I'm committing to at least
You noticed the
Three times a
public
month.
meeting, right? So-
No, I know, no. I'm saying in terms of like retweeting
Yes.
and
Yeah.
posting on social
So-
media and saying we're coming out or here's what's coming, you know? Like
So,
CBS, I
I
want
have it and I'll distribute
my
it.
favorite show.
so what I just wanted to say was similar to when we came in and finding out Channel 4 is going to be, highlighting Priscilla, I think,
Yeah.
think of us in how we could be of help to you. Let us be creative on our end as to how we think we might be of help to you, but you're the lead here. So don't hesitate. This is me speaking for the group. Don't hesitate, say, you could help if you were to do this, or are you available to do this, or can we ask you to, whatever it might be, because I think that's part of our role in engagement, right, is being that ambassador. And so we will look at you to be comfortable, David, to connect with us and say, would you be willing to? Would you be willing to?
That ever haven't said that.
No, I don't think so. I think we're going to be appreciative.
I think that the shift over the last 5 to 10 years in social media and marketing more broadly has meant that the thing people will still trust is word of mouth from people
Yes.
they are
Absolutely.
their friends.
Absolutely.
It's almost like that was always true, but now it's the only thing that's true. And, it's what is old is new again in some ways, but the Brazil's vision for what you all as ambassadors can do is precisely that in a structured format. So, your ability to get the word out to your communities, my ability to do the same with my circles and so on and so forth is worth its weight in gold.
And, we can also, one simple thing is to add you all, if you would like, we can add you to our press release list. So, we have a list of all the dailies and weeklies, and when we put out a release, that's who we blast.
That would be good.
Easily add all of you.
That'd be great.
That's super simple. I don't know why I didn't think of it before.
That was good.
So like Michelle said, people are longing for community and, building on what David said, it's all the same thing. Is that people want to.
Yep, very good.
Thank you.
Lisa.
Thank you
This is
both.
fantastic.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I mean, great presentation. And what's amazing is that we have potential future topics that's going to be coming up, right, when we meet again, from local partnerships. Angela's here. Thank you, Angela. We look forward to hearing from you. Equitable service, Woodney. Thank you. Also advocacy for additional resources and staff skill development, which is important. We have the Fellows Athenaeum Trust, right, looking at a model pros and cons. And I know that Evelyn, who chairs the trust, it would be great to have her and Representative China Tyler, they serve on that trust, to be able to give us an update. That would be fantastic. An invitation to key Friends Group leaders to come. And I think that's going to be important.
Right.
That's why I put the branch library Friends Groups to highlight them, because they're passionate and they're working so hard.
They are.
So this has been a great conversation. We're going to wrap this portion and go into new business.
Yeah, so Pamela and I will work with you and Jose as chair and
Absolutely.
vice chair on the sequencing. Because I think the charter work and some of our conversations maybe have re-ranked the original order that we had, but we'll work with you on what
Okay.
Absolutely.
these should be.
We'll do that. That's great.
In China, Tyler, just sounds good.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Rep. Tyler. That's fantastic. Okay, do we have any new business? I know I do not, but. Okay, I thought you were saying there was, I'm like, there is no new business. Anyone? No, we're good? Okay. Want to open to public comment if there's anyone?
Here is none.
Wow. Okay. Well, this was wonderful. What a great group.
I have to say,
Mhm.
every one of these meetings, I learned something new about life. And I think that's indicative of many people. And many that don't have the opportunity to be here that I have. And I know we talked about it a little earlier about the breadth of outreach versus the depth of outreach. And whether, I don't know, coming up with strategies to really expose people. I think it really enhances the relevance of the library to people when they understand all the things that are here, when that are being done by incredible staff.
Yeah.
And, I just think, why everybody doesn't know about it. They don't, most people are more like me where they only have a partial understanding of what happens here. And so I think that should be a key part of the strategy is how to make people aware at least of this broad panoply of offerings
Yeah.
and values that, when I heard about test preparations,
Yeah, that's.
I work with teams all the time.
Yeah, that's
If I knew that, I'd be,
And saving families money.
Yeah.
You know, people are paying for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's free. Absolutely, yeah.
they don't have the money to do
They
that.
don't have,
Even do
yeah,
that, yeah, and it's free. Yeah, you're right.
So important.
Yeah.
so.
I agree.
Yeah.
No, John, I think you're onto something there because I think it's incumbent upon us as a society writ large, the same way we have made it so that at a very young age, you're already expecting at a certain age, you're going to get a driver's license, that you're going to be allowed to consume alcohol, that you're going to be able to vote, right? These are things that are ingrained at a very, it should be like an automatic from the very beginning. You will get a library card the moment you hit 5 years old, you know what I mean? It should just be part of.
Have you met our program to work with the Boston Public Schools to distribute?
As a young person, I'm not young, but when I was a young person.
You're still young.
Oh, thank you. Okay. When I was a young person, that was the first thing we did was got a library card. And it makes you
Same.
big. and
Yeah.
Plastic was a thing. I think we primarily associate a library with books.
Right.
Feel antiquated to some
Right.
people and feel dusty and don't feel exciting. And there are so many services and it is so much more than books. I love books. I think.
So listen to that. So
And
listen.
so it's actually a shift in the way that society thinks about these
Yeah.
centers that are in almost every neighborhood across the country.
Yeah.
They're so important.
What if we did a little orientation video for
That's what I'm
the
thinking.
library card sign up? It's
That would be
like,
great.
That is a great idea. I was thinking go on BNN with a well-prepared thing, but
Yeah.
I love your idea. I love, an orientation video that I think delivering it in video format is a good idea.
It also means you don't have to physically come to an
Exactly.
Yeah.
driver's edge. You have your
Right,
you
right,
have your temporary permit library card. That'd be crazy, but
Yeah,
I do think.
because it's sort of like,
They're centers of knowledge. They're like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
it's not your grandmother's library, right?
Yeah, no, it's
And
more.
but the other part,
The word library doesn't feel big enough for what the library is
Right.
doing.
Yeah, it's.
The what?
Library, it
Yeah.
feels like it's not big enough for what the library is doing now. Like, it's not really just what we think of as library, the library of our youth.
Sure.
It was stacks and books.
Yeah.
And it's, libraries are not that
It's
anymore.
not a T. I mean, like, these places are portals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's.
But then if you.
Boston Public Portal.
Yeah.
There was a period where the library profession really went through a deep sort of reflection on whether library itself is the right word or not. And like we have there's one library somewhere in the Midwest, I forget, it's called the Do Space.
What's it called?
DO.
Because you do, yeah, it's like.
So there've been, and Information Commons is what most of the academic libraries ended up settling on, or a version of that. but none of them quite capture the full.
Yeah. And I think that,
Face.
and I think this is where the video, right? If you're able to do a 2-minute video
Yeah.
to say BPL, and you can say library.
Yeah.
But from the library, you're showing the yoga, you're showing young people doing
Cooking
art,
class.
you're showing cooking classes. In all these different branches, there's amazing things that are happening. And we're lifting up the diversity of our BPL. So I would keep library, right? Of course, this is our, but you know, it's like saying,
Finding it,
well,
it's easy,
yeah.
right?
defining it and saying we're more, right?
Card too. We're talking about redirecting to getting a library card.
Yes,
Having the library card is not just used books. It is like this
It opens this
passport.
world.
yeah,
It is
the passport,
for two
yeah.
books
Yeah.
and
It
classes.
is, it opens
Yeah.
the world.
Also, the
Passport to the dudes.
passport to.
And maybe it's not even just a card, right? And this is where it's all digital, guys. Seriously. So it's like an ID in your, you know, you scan, but okay. This is awesome. What a great.
Yeah. What?
But it's a key. yeah.
Exactly.
Come on, Ken. Come on, come on.
Write that one down, not just a card. Let me just get that loud on my,
It's one of the.
It's a great group. Okay, any final words? Because we'll go on another 30 minutes.
not just a card, it's a key.
There's one of the things that I say when is, I started this whole thing about, when people say, well, I didn't know the library did that. So I actually said, do you know? Are you, let me tell you what the library does.
Yeah.
And I go through all of these things. You can do this, you can do, the Kirsty, you can do AI, you can do cooking. And I also tell people the library is not just for kids,
Yeah, no, it's not at all. It's not.
moms and kids.
Yeah, yeah, it's not.
It's not, yeah,
It's
so
a key.
it's a key.
Oh, I love it.
Love
Similar
that.
to what I deal with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about
The zoo.
Oh,
Right.
yeah.
people have a certain.
Mhm.
Bringing little kids to the zoo.
Yeah, it's a place to come look at animals.
Yeah.
Animals and cages, like conservation.
Yeah.
Much more, yeah.
So.
Done a great job.
Huh?
Adjourned?
We have an adjourned,
We have an
okay.
adjourned.
Oh, this was still lively conversation as part of our, this is part of the committee. We are, okay, so now this is the new
Yeah,
business, okay? And now we're going to adjourn. Okay, meeting's adjourned.
We did.
Do we have to do a vote? No. No, that's it, no motion.
You got both.
No motion, we're done. This was great.